Hey guys, and welcome back to the Teach Fitness Academy podcast and YouTube channel. I'm your host, Chrissy Morris. And yeah, today I really want to talk about something a little bit different, I guess, to what I've shared before and previously on my channel. And I wanted to share a little bit more around my journey, sort of where I've come from, how I got to this space, and I guess the barriers as well, and struggles and challenges that I found in teaching, which I hope will in turn help you A, realize that it's absolutely normal to feel like that at times, but also B, know that the journey is a journey sometimes and it's absolutely okay to feel like that. And I just thought it was nice for you guys to get to know me a little bit too, because it's cool. It's a cool space and I appreciate you all being here. So yeah, let's dive in and share sort of a little bit more. I did think I might find this episode particularly difficult. I do often find things like this quite difficult because it's hard to share around your personal life with everything going on. And I've always found this hard in the past. But in my head, I was like, right, how do I want to structure this episode? How can people get the most out of it? Because my journey personally has changed so much over the last few years. So I guess basically, if I sort of go right back, when I was at university, I didn't actually train to be a teacher. I did psychology at university as an undergraduate degree. I went to the University of Leeds, absolutely loved it. And then when I left university, I decided to do Teach First. So that's where I did my teacher training through. So if any of you guys have done Teach First before, you will know that you are thrown into a school in an area. So Teach First is a charity, and how it works is you're thrown into a school in an area where it's in quite a low socioeconomic status area, which if you guys have had experience teaching, then the children in these sort of areas are completely kept a different pot of, whatever you want to call it compared to other areas. And I can honestly say I absolutely loved working with those children that needed the help the most. Those vulnerable children, the children that, the behaviour was a little bit wild and wacky. It was just so rewarding when you could get a child sort of to turn around from not being able to be in class to being able to like get through their SATs and things like that. Like, I just think teaching is such an incredible job if you look down that route of things, and it can have such a positive impact on your well-being and how you feel, like in terms of like motivation. Like, it's so rewarding. It is such a rewarding job. But also in the early parts of my career, I did love it, but I also found it incredibly hard at times. Teaching is a very hard job. I think initially when you first start up, it is hard as well. It's like no other. You are on the go all the time. The week just flies by because it is so busy, and you can quite easily fall into this pattern of waiting to the weekends, and that's very much what happened to me. Um, my fitness journey was something I was always into, and I was into my fitness at university and I loved this. But when I started my teaching career, like everyone who starts up, my fitness started to slip a little bit because I was just so busy, and my priority was the lessons I was planning, the work I was doing, and I just couldn't find that balance right. And every time I tried to pull away from school and work on myself a little bit more, I found that I was not doing a good enough job in the classroom. I felt like I wasn't working hard enough or doing enough. And it just led to this toxic cycle of work, 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 not working on me, and me feeling burnt out, run down, and just really, really struggling in terms of like everything, because you're not working on yourself right. It's really hard to find that balance of it all. And I was then constantly like disappointed in myself because I wasn't going to the gym, and it was just this cycle that kind of went on and on. And I think I soon realized as I kind of got into my second year in teaching that it's not a job that gets easier. It just gets slightly easier because you get used to the lessons and delivering them and things, but it's not like that much easier, right? Because the work's still there and it's still tricky. And I realized that actually this it's not a career that can be sustainable for me unless I do something to look after myself. I think stress had a massive impact on me. Stress manifests in different ways for different people, but the way that it really manifested for me early on in my teaching career was through my gut health, digestion, and IBS. This is not something that I spoke massively about, but I honestly think someone should do a study on this. If you hear me, make sure you cite me on this, because the amount of teachers I've spoke to that do struggle with gut health problems, digestive issues, or anything like that, they are usually triggered by some sort of stress response. And I think there is some sort of correlation between teaching and these problems for some people, because yeah, there's so many people out there that do struggle with this. And It was really hard. I would, and this is probably too much info, but I would like go for periods of time not being able to go to the toilet and then go to the toilet loads. And it was just really tricky. I'd be constantly bloated, uncomfortable. I would have like different size work trousers because my bloating would be so bad on some days that the trousers won't be comfortable. So I'd have to get like bigger ones for those days that were more comfortable. But then on the days when like I was less bloated because I'd been to the toilet or whatever, like, none of those trousers would fit me. So I'd have to get the smaller ones for those days. And it was a battle. And I remember this went on and on. It started to get to a point where I couldn't predict when I was going to have a flare up or these incredibly intense pains. And when these incredibly intense pains did come on, honestly, like to a point where you can't even stand up, that's how intense the pains feel. And I can't, if anyone has struggled with flare ups from IBS, like, oh, it is awful. You just get this, it's like a cramping feeling, but so intense that you can't even stand up with it. And you just feel like you need to curl over. And I remember teaching one day and it was like break time and I started my English lesson. I just couldn't do it. I just wanted to sit down the whole time. And I did actually like go home from work that day because I just felt so poorly from it. And it was just the stress that had built up and up over time. I think in that moment, I realised that it's just not a job that's sustainable unless you start to learn to prioritise yourself and unless you start to have some boundaries and some cut-offs as well throughout your career. So then I decided that, okay, well, I want to do this job. I love this job. So what am I going to do to make sure that it feels sustainable for me and it feels like a good, I feel like I've got that balance between the two. Um, so I did a bit of a reset with myself and I was like, right, this is what I'm committing to. I'm committing to, I think it was 3 days a week initially, making sure I show up. I'm committing to them on these days at this time, and this is what I'm going to do. So my days were always a Monday, a Thursday, and then one at the weekend. Reason being is because Monday I just wanted to get the session out of the way at the start of the week. It felt good. Thursday was great because I had PPA on a Thursday. So I was like, oh, it's nice. It's a little bit of a lighter day. So I feel like I'll have the energy for the gym. And then I always enjoyed training on the weekend. If I didn't train on the weekend, I'd try and get it in on a Friday. But I just always liked having a Saturday morning session. Like it was more time to do it. I could actually enjoy it. So I was quite happy doing that and building that into my routine. And I found that I could stick to it. And what happens when you actually stick to a program and you see the changes that you see the changes you want to see. And through the midst of this, it was like COVID, I decided to then gain a little bit more education around it. I wanted to learn how to progress even more in the gym and actually see some, changes in my body and continue to find that balance when the schools do go back, but also learn how I can, optimize my results a little bit. So I had a bit more time in COVID and I did my PT qualifications. And that's where I started to integrate the two. So I started to really learn about how I could find that balance around teaching and really prioritize myself outside the classroom. I moved schools in all of this and I was like, right, fresh start. Where my school was, it was in a better location for the gym and things like that. And where I lived, the commute was less. And I was like, right, let's really go for it. I know what I'm doing. I can implement this routine. And that's what I did. I started going to the gym now 4 times a week and it worked. I did like one morning session, two after school, one at the weekend. And I could see this routine building. I started eating better, fueling my body, doing all the right things. And I started seeing the changes that I wanted to see. But I feel like the byproduct of this, which is something that I don't really speak about, is the effect that it actually had on me as a teacher. I started my career in year 6, moving to this new school, and I was all of a sudden I felt like I just had more control. It was so weird. Like I'd been and done my workout in the morning and I came in and I was ready. Like the kids would ask me something, I'd be like, yep, I was on it, I was switched on, I was awake, I was alert. I felt like I'd given myself that time. I felt because I had been in the morning, I could be at work till 5 and then I'd go home and switch off and I'd be like, right, sleep, whatever, get reset for the next day. And it felt good. Like I felt like I felt like I had the energy to give back to the classroom. Whereas previously I was just struggling. Everything was a struggle. Like I didn't have energy. Like the work was like balancing it all was really, really hard and tricky. And I just didn't have that energy to find that balance between the two. So it just felt good. Like I felt like I was in a good momentum with it. Like my work-life balance felt good and things were going in the right direction. And that's when you feel like you've got control of what's going on. You feel like you can give more. You're showing up better as a teacher. You have more energy in that classroom. You're seeing better results. And it just spurs you on to keep doing these things. Not only that, when you do work on yourself and you work on building a shift in your body and changes, you do become more confident and know the kids don't care. Like we know that. But you do feel more confident standing up in a room full of people. I started to deliver more assemblies, I started to deliver more staff meetings. And I think all of these little things that maybe don't seem like a big thing actually add up to having a massive impact on your career. And it was great because after only being in the school for a few months, I got a promotion. It was like, um, TLS, I think they call it. It's like an extra thing. And then I went on to being like a specialist practitioner, which was great as well. So my career like developed and developed, and it felt like it was in a really, really good place. um and we went through hard times, like the school that I was at, there's different things going on, and it's always a bit tricky, but I felt like I was in a really good place with the work, with the job, finding that balance. And it just showed me that how much of an impact and how much of a positive impact training, workouts can have on you as a teacher in the classroom as well, and your career. Like, it's not just that investment in yourself, it does have that impact. You show up better in all different areas, and it just makes you show up as a better version of you in those areas too. So I then saw and noticed that there was this pattern around me. All of these teachers were struggling with their goals, what they wanted to do, and I just felt like I had more to give. And this thought was like toying with me for so long, if I'm honest, because we know how scary it is to do something different, especially when you've been a teacher for a while, or something new. And I just decided that, okay, Chrissy, you're in your 20s, you've got no children. Like, if you don't do something like this now, you're never going to do it. And I had a very stable home life at the time. And it just felt like a really good time to jump into something that was new. And I just wanted to try all the online coaching. I had these qualifications, I could see the positive impact from health and fitness, and that's what I wanted to do. So I say this very lightly, but I can tell you now it was not a light decision to hand my notice in. It was very hard to make that decision, to go from such a incredibly stable income to not having that. Like, it's scary. It really is. Business is not, it's not the same as just having like a salaried job. It's very different. And I don't think at the time I knew the risks that would come with that. I think I just kind of, well, I did know the risks that would come with that, but it was hard. But I took that risk and I started my online coaching in August 2024, which is just wild to think we're in February 2026 now. And this year it'll be 2-year anniversary of my coaching, which is so exciting. But yeah, anyway, I started doing the coaching full time in August 2024 and started using my Instagram properly. And I'll pop a little, I don't know if I've got a screenshot, but I'll see if I can find one of my Instagram of where it started. And it's just crazy because this is where we are today, which is amazing. And it's been such a journey going from A to B. When I did leave that job, I felt very anxious about it all, quite understandably, but I knew that there was, something that needed to happen. And that's kind of where this shift came from for the Teacher Fitness Academy. I wanted to prove to teachers that well-being matters. I do feel like there needs to be a shift in education from a higher up place. I think there needs to be more knowledge around teacher well-being and the impact it can have on the children in your class, but also on attainment and how much impact that can have on you, your children. And I do think that all of this pressure doesn't make anyone a good teacher. And I think actually promoting well-being in academies is how you get best results out of your teachers. And I think there is so much more that needs to be done with this, but we don't have that power today. But what I do know that all teachers have the power to today is to make some of those simple choices and simple swaps to learn to prioritize themselves. And that is my real vision with the Teacher Fitness Academy this year, is to just educate as many teachers as I can to learn that it is doable. You can prioritize yourself and you can show up as a better teacher doing so. You can show it with more positivity, show it with more energy, because if you are never looking after yourself and you're always putting the kids first, you are just not going to feel as positive as what you can towards that job. And that's been like my passion ever since. I'm so passionate about it because I just think it has this positive knock-on effect to everybody involved, the teachers. And teaching is such an incredible and empowering job, and you should feel fantastic doing it, and you get so much reward. It's so rewarding. My best stories in my career are from like the children that all these special lessons that have gone really well, or the children that have been really, really challenging, but I've managed to get them through the SATs. Like, that's it. Oh, you can't even, like, unless you've done it, you don't even know the feelings associated with that. Like, it is so rewarding. It's such an amazing career. And I just don't want there to be teachers feeling like they can't do it because they are just so snowed under. This is about making people realize that you can do this job with balance and you can look after yourself. And it's not easy, but yeah, that is just like my vision with this. It's just tell teachers that they can do it and be a part of that. So if that's you, then 100% follow along. Like, this was what my space is all around and all about. This is what the Teacher Fitness Academy is all about. And I guess I hope that gives you a bit of an insight into sort of my journey into developing the coaching, my journey into where I am now, and my journey into sort of seeing those changes too. And if it has, and if you enjoyed that episode, make sure that you give this a like and subscribe to my channel. Follow me over on Instagram. That's where I post out daily content to share a little bit more around me. And if you two guys did like this video, I might do a bit of a follow up, which I will talk about sort of the changes that I had post teaching, because I had a lot of like life shifts and life changes since leaving that career, and that was much more around sort of like personal changes. But I do think as well, when you start to really make that commitment into yourself in health, fitness, whatever it might be, you get braver in so many other areas. And I think that's what kind of trickled down into like the next stages for me. So yeah, I'm happy to share a bit more of a video around who I am and sort of where my journey has ended up going to, if you guys would find that useful. But if not, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you can sort of really see and resonate with how the Teacher Fitness Academy works and how it might help you. But